Okay, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. This is Hasnan Rashid from Office of Corporate Linkages and Placements. Office of Corporate Linkages and Placements at UMT, University of Management and Technology, under the vision of President UMT, Mr. Ibrahim Hassan Murad. We have launched a high impact, iconic learning and development focused virtual career week 2021 on the theme of chasing the dream career 2030 to prepare the students and facilitate them to emerge as marketable graduate to the future world of work. In this career week, it's one of its kind to engage in platforms that has brought together the biggest, smartest, and brightest gurus, panelists, and success icons in the walk of life. And in this career week, the student will be oriented about the expectation and emerging trends and challenges of the industry. And we're talking about the furthermore this career week. It also has and provided a platform for the corporate sectors and introduced their companies to a diverse crowd of students to get the pipeline and a future workplace, as we have 25,000 plus student network plus 20,000 registered alumni. Talking about the specifically for today's theme, it's in CV writing and resume writing, whereas we have planned this session in particular for the Institute of Liberal Arts and School of Social Science and Humanities. The purpose of this session is how to write and prepare an impactful resume. Before we formally start the session, I would like to introduce our guest speaker of the today, Mr. Usman Zahir. He is the founder and CEO of OnyxTec, and he is the alumnus of FAST and LUMS. He has over a decade of experience in software working from Pakistani tech sector to tech giant of Microsoft and Amazon across the globe, Europe and America. He founded OnyxTec in 2020, a software firm with the vision connect Pakistani talent with the startup business around the world. So I would like to Mr. Usman Zahir to formally start the session. Ji Usman sir.
Cool. Thank you for the introduction. Just one quick comment, mistake on my part. The logo actually I sent was my old logo, which has an H in OnyxTec. So if you ever look up OnyxTec, it's TEC without an H. Snanza already gave the initial introduction. I actually wanted to ask if there is a quick way to get an idea about how many of these 55 participants are from computer science versus non-computer science. So I can is there any way they can just drop a message or raise hand or anything? Because it seems most of the functionality is disabled.
Usman sir, actually today's the targeted school is Liberal Arts and School of Social Science and Humanity, but it's open for other schools as well. So obviously from other disciplines they may join, and
Okay.
students from the other schools are also here.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a rough ratio, but it's fine if we are logged on the session.
All right.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify one thing that I have been in computer science as Mr. Snan briefed for 13 years almost now. I graduated from FAST Lahore back in 2008. I worked with local industry for a couple of years, worked in LUMS research, did my master's from LUMS, and then I moved to Microsoft Denmark. Then I moved to Microsoft United States, and I currently work for Microsoft Amazon for the last 3.5 years. So while I'm not an HR expert or I don't give lectures about resume writing specifically, but at the same time, I have had experience having my resume all over the world, as well as I started this company last year. I have read probably over 100 resumes. So it was just that there are a couple of key things that most of you probably would have 50, 60, 70, 80% of that right. Some had CVs. And again, some of these don't take everything I say as the absolute only way to go about these. But I will share my experiences based on reading so many CVs, based on me applying all over the world and what gets response, what's not. Yeah, I will just go based on some of the feedback that I had from CVs from, like, it's not specific to just UMT. Like, I have interviewed people from like 8, 9 universities from within Lahore. So it's not specific to anybody in person. If they had already applied to OnyxTec and had some feedback. So I will just open one random resume on my end. I won't share just because of name or anything, but basically you pretty much start at the top with your name, your address, email, contact number. So yes, number one, yeah, it's very important you have your contact numbers out there. Um, Email, phone number, home address, sure, your name. One thing that's debatable at the very top is having your picture or not. I have heard like multiple people debate on that. 90% of the CVs, I would say, don't have that. And one good point against that is it can introduce a bias. Like, you could think you are like very professionally attired for that picture, or you have a very good picture, but like at the end of the day, it's not that somebody would look at your picture and accept or reject you, but it can just add one sort of unconscious bias. So um, like, you are welcome to add that. It's not something that's absolute no, but I would recommend personally against that. Similarly for email, just put any email that you check frequently. It could be your university email address, but also keep in mind these days university email addresses probably last you a lifetime. But if you think that after graduating you would stop using your email address, don't use that one, because I can look up your CV a year later and say that, hey, I need somebody right now. And I might have your 6 months old CV or a year old CV or resume. So like, put an email address that you think you would be using like 5 years, 10 years from now. Like, occasionally you might change your phone number or email, that's fine, but at least plan ahead. Then I have seen a lot of resumes that are like very full of colors. It can look fancy, but consider like multiple things. Like, if somebody is reading multiple CVs, they can have issue with the colors. If somebody is like going to print that, that might come very ugly, especially with if you are putting some bright colors and somebody is trying to print on a black and white just to put in front of them while interviewing you or like reading beforehand. So try to avoid using too much colors, like slight heading, dark blue color, stuff like that. That's okay, but don't put something like that. Then, like at the very top, going down, you would generally have CV is written in 2 or 3 ways. Either you would have like one long sections, which includes pretty much everything. We can go into detail later. Or some people separate it out into 2 parts. The 2 part separation could work if you are doing like 1 by 3rd, 2 by 3rd. But if I have seen some CVs that are like 50-50, and then because 2 by 3rd and 1 by 3rd usually works, is because in 1 by 3rd you would go with some things like, and again, like, I'm sorry for people who are not from computer science, but in computer science perspective, it could work out because you would be mentioning your tools and technologies. Like, I assume it's the same for like arts and others, that, hey, I understand C++, Java, this. So it's not like you are trying to read whole sentences that, hey, I studied from this university, I did this sort of project, and these are the project details, or this is the internship I did, and these are the details. Because when you're trying to read sentences, and you already like narrowed it down to like 50% with borders and everything, then it's like way too much reading. So even if you decide to split it and go 1/3 by 2/3, like keep the 1/3 side only some things that maybe you're putting your contact info below there, or like some sort of interest or tool technology, irrespective of which department or which degree you're from. But like any internship details, project details, what you studied, keep that much more readable format. Um, then fonts, during graduation, like we use many different fonts, and some people like very fancy italic sort of fonts. That's totally fine for yourself, but don't use them in resumes. Again, when somebody is reading 15, 20, 30 CVs, that's just not pleasing to the eye. Like I have had headaches at times trying to read CVs that are like way too much fancy or have too much colors. Um, then one thing that I would say 80-90% of the students get right is the order of everything you put in. But I have seen some people who go with like high school, intermediate, and bachelor's degree. Um, I am not like most of the companies won't be interested what you did like 4 or 5 years ago. So always go reverse chronological order. So what you did recent most, put it at the top, and then sure, it's good to know like what you did you do intermediate in maths or like pre-medical or what. So yeah, sure. Like I'm not saying exclude that, but put that on the top. And also try to put your at least month and year. If not the like exact dates are not needed because I've seen many people that put just their degrees and I don't even know if they have graduated or they are applying 6 months in advance or they are applying in a year in advance for an internship. So try to put that detailed info. Um, After that, yeah, try if you are a fresh graduate, which I assume most of you are, do put some sort of your project details, not of all your like 20-30 courses that are relevant to the field, but put like your final year projects, your important like again in terms of computer science, you could have done a web development course, you could have done a databases course. So like which technologies you roughly worked in, what was it doing? So like some people go and write 5-7 lines to that. That much detail is not needed. But not just that, hey, I did facial recognition internet system. Okay, that gives me a fairly good idea. But what technologies you use? Were you using some other API and you were just building a mobile app, or were you building a web app, or was it more hardware related? Were you working with some engineering team? So like try to give a decent amount of again like it could be any field, but try to give an idea what sort of specifics you were looking into without going into too much detail. One important thing, this is a mistake I actually did on my very first application. Don't ever send out CV in a Word format. Yes, 99% of you would be writing in Word document, but always save it as PDF. Just like 2 weeks ago, somebody sent me a CV and I was trying to open it on my mobile device, and it was just a bunch of boxes because with Word you have like 200 font options. Not all of them are supported on all devices. Like if I'm using a MacBook, it's different. If I'm using Android, it's different. If I'm using iOS, it's different. So when you save into a PDF, it's more like an image. So now whatever font you selected, that's in an image. But when you're sending somebody in a Word format and the other person is trying to open it in a Word format, if that specific Word device, whatever that is, doesn't have the exact same font that you selected, it won't work. Similarly, with spacing, with fonts, with heading sizes, like a lot can go wrong. Um, so like always send your, like keep a Word format with yourself. So it's easier to edit because it's difficult to convert PDF back to Word. So keep two versions always, keep updating Word, but as soon as you update, convert that into PDF and use that, send that, print that. Always use PDF everywhere else. Yeah, that's I don't know, Mr. Stan, is there a way to get like questions and answers if there's anything else before I move on to something else?
Yeah, for sure. There will be a short question and answer session.
Okay.
But Mr. Smart, I would just want to add here that this particular session is we have designed and planned for the School of Liberal Arts and School of Social Sciences. So just elaborate that how can our students from these two schools can prepare the resume according to their domain.
Can we have a couple of sample CVs? They can even send me to my email address, like official email address, so I can just have a quick look and see that what is there different or how they can improve that. If,
Uh,
yes,
Let me check if we can arrange right now. But let me after the session for sure we'll send you and you can have a look on this.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I will get to questions and answers in the end. But like before I move on to like beyond resume writing about like application and interviewing and all of that, just at the very end, people usually have these skills and interest and tools and languages. I would say don't mention things that are not super comfortable with. Like you could be an art student, you could be a computer science student, you might have studied something in your first year, like just high level overview. And now if you're trying to put in your skills, that thing that you're barely comfortable with, just imagine that if the other person starts interviewing you into details of that specific thing. Would you be comfortable? Like again, computer science, solving problem in that answer, or like any field. Um, I don't know if you like for some art student, if there is something calligraphy, or if you are a psychology student and there is some field that you just high level studied that. If I start interviewing on your on that, would it be like reading 15 skills for a fresh graduate? I already understand that there's no way you could be experienced with like 15 different things. Yes, I understand like in universities you get a brief introduction about everything, but if you really want to put something, I have seen CVs. I actually myself use that thing that you put like your skills and then you can say familiar with or something like that. That hey, I have touched this tool or I have checked this thing, but don't try to group all of them together because if if you mention something and I am like very experienced with that, I might just say that, oh, let me interview in this specific field or let me ask details about this specific field. So you are just putting yourself at a disadvantage for no reason. Like if you just limit to things that you're super comfortable with, then it doesn't matter if I am not super confident in that. I would at least get an idea that okay, you have good idea on things you have mentioned rather than you putting things that you're not comfortable with. And also like Word, Excel, PowerPoint. These are like irrespective of which field you are in. Don't put them in your skills. It just fills up your resume for no reason. Like whenever like just imagine if you are hiring somebody, you won't be hiring somebody for a Word document. Even if you have like a very business specific skill, like Word is not very hard to learn. So like keep things focused on onto the jobs you are applying for. Um, yeah, that's I guess pretty much it for the writing part.
Ji sir, Usman sir, this particular CV we have shared screen. So this is one of our student who is studying in School of Social Science and Humanities. So you can have a look and guide the students accordingly. What is we need to change here? If she write all the things in a particular order or no? What areas do she need to be improvement here?
Yeah, contact number, mailing address, email, all good. You don't like you can like separate them out into two columns. Like this is the part where two column really helps at the very top. Like you can have your name at one end and just phone number, email at the other end. So like try to keep your resumes into a single page. Because that's the whole part of resume, that it's just a quick overview into things like that. Objectives. I personally never read objectives, and I don't think so. Anybody read my objectives ever? Like I had objectives in my resume for like years and years, because it doesn't like if you read like I have read 100 resumes and like 80% of them are the same, that I like pretty much like I don't even have to understand which field the person is applying to. It would be still 80% the same, that I want to apply into this organization and I want to improve, or I can help, or I can excel, stuff like that. I personally just think it takes some time. I would say that so if you're a fresh graduate, try to put your educational history at the top rather than your job experience, because your job experience would probably be small internships. Like obviously when you have like 2, 3, 4 years experience, you want that at the very top. But if your experience is just like small internships, uh, which is probably not the case here, then do that. Can you scroll down, Mr. Smith? Yeah, I would say like keep it into one page. Don't break out. I don't know if like the format got a little messed up because of deleting fields at the top, but don't break down heading and details into 2 different pages. Again, IT skills. If you have an understanding of some specific tool, you understand Photoshop or something like that, sure, do put that in. Web serving, internet browsing, don't put that. SPSS, yeah, very good tool. Definitely put that there. Operating systems, again, don't really matter. So yeah, keep it specific to something that would really distinguish you between the others, or at least say that okay, this person knows SPSS. So that's a difficult tool. You can put your date of birth. I don't think so. You need your CNAC, father number, a name, marital status, nationality, religion. Yeah, you can basically delete this whole part. You can leave like your email, your phone number, your full name. That's pretty much it that anybody might need. Maybe your home address, maybe not. Languages, yeah, I have surprisingly seen like 80% people putting that in. I don't understand the need of that. Again, it varies from department to department. Like from computer science, I would understand the person would know Urdu, he would know English, or she. So that's fine by me. Um, if you are actually applying for, again, since there are humanitarian fields as well, some sort of like an office job or something, yeah, definitely. Again, it depends where you are, but if you are doing some computer science or these sort of fields or arts, like does you knowing Punjabi benefit the organization or your job in any way? Yes, put that. No, don't put that. References, I don't think so. Anybody asked that anyway. You can put them in the email, but having like these 3 extra lines in your resume, that when there is actually nothing, it's just like asking you to ask me back so I can get that and email you. It's just a waste of space. Like keep it one page. The shorter you keep it and more on point you keep it, the more I would know. Like maybe I start reading your first page and I'm already like, okay, this is too long, and I move on. Assume I have 50 resumes. So keep it concise, keep it short. If it's 3 pages, um, I might lose interest when I have so many to read. Sure, if I'm getting like one resume a week, I would probably read even if it's 4 pages, but consider that whenever you're applying, most of the places 50, 100 other people would be applying. So keep it short, irrespective of your um, field. Can you scroll at the top? Like I don't have too much info on the job experience, so maybe you can put some more details. And if you want to short that, just put like SEPT 2012 to GAN 2013 at the right of placement at Sir Gangaram. So like in few characters, you can save space because you have so much to put into your resume. So to write 2 lines instead of moving the font smaller, just like I don't need the exact date. Yes, it was September 6th, September to January, it's enough information. That gives me a month idea. Yeah, it could be January 1st, it could be January 29th. that's some 1 month difference, but that won't matter in the grand scheme of things. So like try to keep them in one lines and shorten everything to, and again, so your present one is at the bottom. So the same thing with order, like reverse the whole order. If I'm reading your resume, I'm most interested in what you're doing right now. So if you are in Bloomfield Hall School, put that at the top. Then your recent most, then recent, going back in time. Yeah, if there's any other resume, we can discuss that. There's one more part I would like to touch, which is once you have resumes, you emailed somewhere, you got some sort of response. So like in my specific case, I'm based off US, like my whole department, my team, my HR, everything there, but I start the resume cycle myself. So my lot of my communication goes over email. I would assume even Lahore-based or Pakistan-based companies would still have at least 50% of that, especially in these days. Um, so the issue is, I have seen a lot of people being extremely unprofessional, and that's the most off-putting thing. Like I have had personally rejected people who were technically very strong because their behavior was just way too much. Uh, and one general thing is that I have seen, like, so the way at least I do resumes which won't apply to all disciplines, but it would still give you an idea what I'm talking about, is that I would start with, after an initial interview, I would start with a practice exercise, right? So in the very initial interview, first of all, I give whoever is applying the opportunity to book a time slot with me. So like we can quickly go over your resume or whatever. Um, so like I already spent, like I am exactly 12-hour difference from Pakistan. So I keep like 3-4 hour slot at the night available, so that let's say I say 8 a.m. to 12 noon Pakistan time, I'm available. So you have to pick 10-15 minutes according to your slot, and 50 to 60% of the people won't show up. And you selected the day, you selected the time. Out of those 50%, maybe 10% have genuine issues. You got sick, you had a family member, you had an emergency, you had electricity out, and like this is like a good 20% of the people telling me that, hey, they had power issues. I assume everybody these days can afford like 100-200 rupees card, and they have internet on their mobile. Just drop me an email that, sorry, my laptop can't come up, or can I talk from mobile, or I have battery issues, I had an emergency. I understand there would still be like 2-3% maybe that still can't make it. That's okay. But when I'm seeing 50% of those just disappearing, 30% never coming back, or like maybe 20% coming back saying, hey, I had issue 3 days ago. Like what took you, like, let's assume you actually had a power issue. What took you 3 days to respond to that? So like, at least be professional. So just last week, I had interviewed somebody. I went for the first interview. That person was on time. Then I gave a practice exercise to solve it in 1-2 days and come back to me. And one day later, he said, sorry, I won't be able to do the exercise because I got an offer and I'm joining that. And that was the most, like, I actually replied him thanking that, thank you for your professionalism, that we were in a process and you decided to discontinue. At least you had that, hey, thank you for the opportunity. I am moving somewhere else. So like, don't wait for me to reply back. And it's simple as that. Assume you apply to me, we start discussion. I had an interview or something and I go silent for like a month. Uh, you would consider the same thing. You should consider the same thing, that it's unprofessional that they don't even let me know that, hey, sorry, we are moving on with somebody else. So like, we expect the same thing from you. Um, so yeah, it could be like email, it could be like you are not able to make it, it could be like you have moved on to other opportunities, or for some whatever reason, um, you can't make it. I have people who have said that, hey, I'm busy with exams, I am busy with this, and like after 2 weeks they book something, um, and I wait for them in the meeting and they don't even respond, and I'm even they don't respond to the email that, hey, are you still interested? Like, you can at least say no. uh, that doesn't take more than 5 seconds. So like,
Okay, Usman sir, sorry to interrupt you. I'm Sadia from OCLP. So some students have questions regarding CV, which I'm sharing in chat. Like one student Khubab asked that I'm having engineering background, but I switched to BS English language. Should I include my courses and technical certification in the CV? If yes, then under what title?
I think that's a little too specific. You can email me and I can read through it. Like, when did you switch? Like, I started my bachelor's actually not in computer science, but electric, telecom engineering. But it was too early to switch, so I could have put basic electrical engineering, which I studied in the first semester. But again, it comes down to the point that, like, at least one big part of the answer would be, do you still remember that, or have interest into details of that, or are interested in working into that part? If no, definitely don't include. It doesn't matter what you spend the first one, two. But if you
And
have any more details, like, I would need to understand more. So feel free to drop me an email with details, and I can have a look and then we can discuss. Um,
Acha, Usman sir, if someone does not have any job experience, so what he should mention?
Again, that's like, start with your degree that I have just excuse me, graduated or graduating in like 2 months. Or yeah, actually a good point. Do mention what you are really interested in. I have seen resumes that just say, for example, bachelor's of computer science, UMT, and when I get to interview, they are like, oh, we are in the second year, because their emails are just an email, no subject, no text, nothing. Like, you can add at least one line that, hey, I'm interested in this opportunity, or I'm looking for an internship. Do you offer any internships? Or I will be available during that. So yeah, actually I can look into this. I was just trying to read the chat if there's anything relevant to me. Um, Basically, this resume we are looking at the screen. So like, left part, fine. If you are a fresh graduate, put the education on the top. Just write it's written in the reverse order, which is also correct. Instead of work experience, you would then, if you had an internship, fine. If you didn't have anything, that's totally fine. Just put your relevant projects. Like, I had also studied psychology, so I don't know if there are any like psychology sort of departments or students in the call right now. But like, for example, I did internship, so you can put that, hey, I internship into this department for this specific field, or this was my final year project, or this was my thesis, or this was my that. So again, like, go everything with the most important thing at the top, which would be your thesis or your final year project, or your like major courses or whatever that. So it's totally fine to not try to exaggerate or put something out there that's not there. Just put like the most critical or core subject or courses you put with, just like the CV we are looking at right now has like 1-2 lines of detail. That's good enough. It could be your internships, it could be your jobs, it could be your projects. That's totally fine. So my email, so for this specific thing, you can email at hiring at um, OnyxTec. I don't know if I can message to everybody.
Okay, Spencer, there is one more question. What is the importance of cover letter while we're applying for the job? So can you please elaborate?
So let me come back to your question. Just to clarify, yeah, I have posted my email. If you are not applying for anything, just have any questions, do mention in the subject or in the body so I can differentiate. And there is no typo in the email. There is no H in tech, as I explained at the start, and it's not a .com, it's a .co website. So what exact sort of cover letter you are referring to? Like, you do we have an example?
And I'm just asking in general that while we're applying for a job, so mostly it requires that you should, or have we heard or got an experience that we should include a cover letter along with your resume.
I
So
Yeah, I think in most cases no. Again, like think in terms of, again, like, for, I'm not saying no to everybody. Just think, if you're like, for example, if I am applying for, like, the very first job I did was a research associate in lungs, right? So that is something like, I'm applying for a computer vision lab. So maybe it was a good idea to add cover letter there that, hey, my final year project was in computer vision. So I spent 2 semesters there. I did a computer science degree, and this is why I'm interested in doing research in this specific thing. So in some cases, yes, it would be relevant. It would be good to add. But if you are just applying for like a pretty mainline job, just like it could be for computer science, it could be just software developer. What are you going to put into that? And if I'm, again, the question comes that if somebody has like 50 CVs to review, would they be interested in reading one extra page? I would assume no. So like, if you are into that specific thing, you are applying for like MS leading to PhD, if you're applying for some specific research job where you think like you have that extra knowledge regarding that field and you can prove yourself, definitely put that. But I would assume in most cases, no.
Okay, Usman Sahab, I have one question that Hamza is asking. I have been working since I was very young. Now I am still 22 years old and I have more than a dozen job experiences. Some of them are from different fields. Should I put all the experiences in my resume or should I opt for the experiences which are related to the current?
Uh, you can put all of them. Like, the very first filtering you can do is based on internship, because like when you have like 5, 8, 10, like it doesn't matter if you started young or you're just applying 10 years later, just move things that were like very short, like 3 months, 6 months internships. Because if you have like 5, 7 years experience now, um, I am not interested in what you did for 3 months 5 years ago, right? So you can start by excluding those, and then if you are applying for like a specific art sort of thing, and then you worked as like admin in university during your internship, that's no longer relevant. So like, yeah, again, if you think you have not much else to do, sure, put them there. But if you think anything that's not related to field or anything that was way too short, generally the organization you're applying for is not interested into that. So yeah, try to reduce it, not put like 12 jobs, unless they
Oh,
are all like 2, 3 years old, relevant to the field or the job you're applying for.
okay, one more question. Can we put hobbies and books which we read as we are students of BS English in our CV?
Oh yeah, for English, definitely. Even for computer science, I personally find it interesting. I go and read the hobbies part. Just don't include like web surfing or internet browsing there, which I have seen a lot. But if you are into like sports, video gaming, reading, stuff like that, traveling, that, sure, like it, again, like don't extend your resume part of that, but just like the CV that was last shared, like if you have already separated out like 1/3 or 1/4 part of your resume, and it takes just like 2 lines of that review space, sure, you can add that. But yes, I would assume for English literature, it's
Question again.
definitely more important.
So there is also one question Hubab is asking that I'm serving in forces now. if I apply for teaching, then should I add that experience as well? Because I think that it have nothing to do with teaching.
I think as long as you don't have the issue that the last person, Hamza or whatever the name was, has, which is like you now have 12 different places of experience, you can add. So like at least, because the other thing is that if you have graduated and then you did 2 years something that's not directly related to me, uh, but since you spent 2 years there, right? So maybe I asked something like why you were there and what did you learn or something like that. So if you think your series just has the space with that and you actually spent a good amount of time there, you can add that even if that's not super relevant. That's fine.
Sure. Okay, Usman Saab. We have one last question, and after that, Hasnan Saab will end the session and he will give you a word of thanks. And the question is, can we put an experience by which we have no certificate like home tuitions?
Yeah, uh, you can add that. But again, try to put at least a little bit of detail, whatever you did, was it irrespective of for product, like even if you were home visioning, was it mathematics, was it English, was it computer science or something like that. But yes, I mean, generally, like even your degrees, the organization might not ask for. So it's not that I would really be interested in, hey, show me something like proof you did competition. So that's fine.
Thank you, Spansab. Before I formally close the session, I just need your comments on two things. First, how you can just summarize what is the ideal CV in just in 2 lines.
Just think I personally find that the most relevant, that assume you have to read 50 series, or you can actually go and try that. Just go and read 50 of your class level series, and then you would realize after you have read 10 series what you are actually reading and what you are skipping. And you would see that objectives you won't be reading, hobbies, interests you may not read, um, what sort of order you're looking for, how much detail you are interested in. That would give you a very good idea that, hey, maybe you did this final year project, but do I really need 10 lines of details for that, or no details at all? Like they are both wrong. Because if I'm interested in, oh, you also studied computer vision, or you also did SPSS, what you really did in SPSS, this was the specific research course that I studied. So yeah, keep it concise, keep it readable, keep it printable, keep it like shareable, like no fancy fonts, no fancy colors. Um, don't skip too much details, don't stretch it. It's unless so like generally resumes and CVs are used interchangeably, but resume is supposed to be short, and that's what used most of the times. So in most job applications, resume should be one page as much as possible.
Okay, that's nice answer. Okay, the last is your career advice for our students.
Um, Again, I'm not expert in that, but I would just say like it's start of your career. Do at least two things. You really need to switch gears to professionalism. Like I know, like I studied from fast, so like if we were like 5-10 minutes late, there would be most teachers that would mark you absent, and that's irrelevant. So if you're starting a job and there are like a computer science type jobs, like you don't have a public dealing, so it has some sort of a flexibility, but don't get unprofessional. Whether it's like during the interviews or after that, even if you're not interested in that company and you think you will never be interested in life, doesn't matter. Be professional, and then when you start, this is the start of your career. You probably don't have any responsibilities or rush to home. Some people might have. um, Try to spend that extra time learning things, not in terms of that if it's a 9 to 6 job, sit till 9 p.m. leave at 6 p.m. Sure, but if you get time during weekend, or if you are stuck in something, or if you have something new to learn, first 1, 2, 3 years is where you can really make yourself and learn that. After that, you would be distracted with a lot of things, and you might not have that interest in learning. Obviously, like student projects, learning is very different from industrial. Whatever job you go into, so it can get a little boring at times, but if you don't push yourself at the first couple of years, you will never be able to later.
Thank you, Swansab, for your fruitful thoughts and your wise words. And I really appreciate it for your CLP. We are very thankful for your time and for your guidance for our students. I hope it's a great learning experience for all of our students and they get a fruitful insight from it. And for sure, we are bringing OCLP to keep bringing such more activities in the future. And specifically for ILA students, we have planned one more session on Wednesday, 7th April at 11 a.m. Our director corporate linkages, Mr. Khalid Naki, he will host that, and will it's on the topic of career development for ILA. So thank you for all students, and thank you, Usman sir, once again. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Usman sir.